Attacks on Ukrainian cities intensify. As Russian forces hit the city of Kharkiv, Ukraine says as many as 2,000 civilians have been killed so far.
They have an order to erase our history, to erase our country, to erase us all.
Boris Johnson accuses Putin of war crimes. We report from inside a bunker where terrified Ukrainians seek shelter from the missiles above.
I want ending this right now, because people dying.
Back here, a rare show of unity in the Commons and applause for the Ukrainian ambassador. But there is pressure on the Prime Minister to tighten the squeeze on Russian oligarchs, including Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich, who has put the club up for sale.
Russia steps up its attacks on Ukraine as the invasion intensifies. A cruise missile hit this city last night, less than 80 miles west of the capital, as Russia continues pounding large parts of southern and eastern Ukraine. A Russian tank shells an apartment block. Others are hit by airstrikes as Ukraine's president calls the attacks beyond humanity.
They have an order to erase our history, to erase our country, to erase us all.
Nearly 900,000 people, almost all of them women and children, have fled Ukraine since the fighting began.
Here, a rare standing ovation in the House of Commons. Cheers and applause for Ukraine's ambassador to the UK, who was watching on from the public gallery. A warning about the impact this war will have on energy prices here. Household bills could rise to up to £3,000 a year by the autumn. Olympic officials decide not to ban Russia and Belarus from the Paralympic Games in Beijing, but they will have to compete as neutrals.
Good evening. Vladimir Putin stepped up his ruthless onslaught of Ukraine and its people today as key cities became the focus of Russian attacks. The fighting has been fiercest in the east and south, with heavy shelling reported in Kharkiv and Mariupol. And as the bombardments appear to become more indiscriminate, the human cost is rising, with more than 2,000 civilians said to have been killed so far. Tonight, 141 countries condemned Putin's war at the United Nations. From Kyiv, our Europe editor James Mates sent this report.
For those familiar with Chechnya or Syria, this is very much the Russian way of war. City centres, here Ukraine's second city of Kharkiv. Of no military value, utterly devastated by indirect, indiscriminate fire. This, a university building. Survivors pulled from the rubble who had no part in this fight. In Kharkiv, most are Russian speakers, the very people Putin preposterously claims to be liberating. Anna Paraskevova, who spoke to us on Skype, has lived through 7 days of this.
It's been hell, literal hell. So that's it. People are really frightened. People just lost pretty much everything. There was not much to begin with. We're not the richest folk here in Ukraine. My father lives also in Kharkiv. He's in another part of town. He lives there right now. So we just call him every time there's an explosion to ask him if he's alive, and that's it. I'm fine. Yeah, sorry. No crying. I'm all right.
If you wonder what life is like under bombardment, watch this. He did survive this, but who knows how. Around Kiev, to both east and west, there are towns that Russia has decided to destroy in order to liberate. This is Borodyanka, that lies on the approaches to Kiev. And this Irpin, closer still to the capital. If this is now the plan, to use artillery and missiles to steamroll through residential areas towards the center of the city, then pity poor Kiev and what is coming. Maybe only peace talks can save it. President Zelensky's negotiators are still meeting the Russians, but he believes nothing can move forward without a ceasefire.
First of all, everybody has to stop fighting and to go to that point from where it was beginning. Yes, it began 6 days ago. And if those side is ready, it means that they are ready for the peace. If they don't ready, it means that you're just, wasting time.
While his army fights, his people are putting their bodies in the way of advancing Russian columns here in the southern town of Enerhodar, home to Europe's largest nuclear power station. And here in Starobilsk in the east, on the day the Ukrainian government says 2,000 civilians have already been killed, just how brave is this? This evening it's the turn of the southern city of Mariupol, holding out, but maybe not for much longer. This is an ugly, ugly war, and it's not nearly over yet.
7 days into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Moscow claims 498 of its servicemen have died in the war. According to our Ministry of Defence, Russia has taken control of the areas marked in red. The key battles now are for Ukraine's cities, and there's been intense fighting in Kharkiv, where Russian paratroopers have reportedly landed. Further south, the mayor of the port city of Mariupol says there have been mass casualties following relentless Russian shelling. Well, west of there, the Russian military claims it's taken control of Kherson, although this has been disputed, and American officials say a huge military convoy is still thought to be somewhere north of Kyiv. Well, in the capital, there is growing tension about the battle which lies ahead. Its streets are largely empty, with many people heading underground in search of safety.